Good afternoon. Are you there? Can you see me? May take a few seconds before you can actually see my face. My name is Yegor. I am a software developer, a programmer, and this weekly meeting with you guys, the weekly podcast, is about you asking me questions and I'm trying to answer them about software development, about programming, management of programming, of programmers, and maybe even sometimes the philosophy of us, of our life. As we did before a few times already, I will try to pick one question out of all of them, which is more about philosophy, which is more abstract and fundamental, and then try to answer this question at the end of the stream. All other questions will go while we will answer them when you ask them. Let's start from the beginning. The question sounds like this. What do you think about an expression, the performance review was not made to raise your salary, but to explain why you don't get the raise? My boss announced the review and then just skipped it. That's the question. Well, I kind of agree with this formalization of this process. Indeed, when they want to raise your salary, they will try to make it as soon as possible. And they will try to make it as soon, well, not as soon, they will try to make it as at exact the same time when you achieve something. This is in general how the proper management should be organized. But we don't have too many of those proper management situations, and usually the boss, if you work in this, when you have the performance review, it means that you work in some sort of a large organization, not a small one. Because in small one, people don't use this. In small one, they just manage you. There's a manager, there's a boss, and there's you, the subordinate. And then the boss just controls what you do. The boss is responsible for your performance feedback, and then you're responsible for the results. The boss doesn't need any kind of formal procedure of performance review. They don't need that. They just coordinate this process directly with you without any process properly defined. When the organization gets larger, then we, the managers of the organization, we have to somehow put this process under control, put people under control. That's why we invent performance review in order to make sure that people don't get jealous, that people don't get frustrated, that people don't get distracted from what they do every day by the changes that happen around them. That's why we say, okay, we do it according to the rules. We basically try to protect people against people. We protect managers against employees. We protect employees against managers because we know what kind of people usually are, what they can do when they get jealous, what they can do when they get angry. And in general, most people are not really kind people, are not really people with high moral standards. That's why we do it. We try to look like a machine. We try to invent this mechanism that looks to you as an employee that there is a machine. It's not me. It's not my fault. I'm the boss. I'm not responsible for that. I love you. I appreciate your work. I'm so happy about that. But at the performance review, you don't get the salary increase. It's not my fault. I still love you, but there is no money to you because, and then you get no answer, and you cannot really understand why. What's the real problem behind that? Who didn't give you the money? Who is that person? There is no person. It's just a large machine, large organization. And then you don't get angry too much. You don't blame the particular person. You're not going to go to Twitter. You're not going to post on Facebook that this particular guy didn't increase your salary because he doesn't like the way you the music you listen to at your workplace. You're not going to post that because there is no personality behind this decision. There is no personality. So maybe I'm talking too much about that, but let me get back to your original question. The boss announced the review and then just skipped it. Well, it means that you're not going to get the salary. So that's salary increase. That's why the review was skipped, because there is nothing to tell you about this increase, and that's why there's no need to talk to you. And the boss, again, the boss is not anyhow emotionally attached to you. He doesn't feel responsible for your future, not responsible for your feelings in this company, and doesn't want to be responsible. He also feels himself the same way you feel yourself, that you're just an element of a large machine, and the machine has no soul. The machine doesn't care about you and him and everybody else. And then it's better to hide behind this machine and not even talk to you, not even explain to you why you not get the salary, because he doesn't have an answer. And he doesn't want to talk to you about that. He doesn't want to disclose the feelings he has. He doesn't want to share the thoughts about this company, about this process, about you personally, about this project, everything. What's the point? Not only what's the point, but it is very dangerous to do that, because who knows what you're going to do next? Who knows where you will go and who you will deliver these ideas and who you will talk about that. Maybe you will talk to your wife and that's it, but maybe you will go around the office and just spread this information, and then what? He's not going to be able to do anything with you, because we have no mechanisms of punishing this behavior. So it's dangerous for him to disclose anything above what it is asked by the company to disclose. See? Try to understand that the boss in a large organization is at the same position as you are. You are absolutely in equal positions. Just his money is a little bit bigger than your money. That's it. But he's also scared like you are. He also has performance reviews. And his managers also do the same with him. Also don't tell him what they think. Also don't share the information with him. It's exactly the same story. You guys are all the slaves of this large machine. Try to understand that. Don't blame him. Blame the situation. You work in the large organization. That's it. You just accepted the reality. Now just live with that. Next question. The viewer says, I'm a bit confused about acceptance tests. Some treat them as end-to-end tests, but the test pyramid suggests fewer end-to-end tests. Since acceptance tests should be automated, does that mean we need many end-to-end? How do you do it? I'm a little bit lost with the terminology you use. The acceptance tests, the end-to-end tests, the automated tests, I believe. I suggest, even in the book, which I am planning to publish actually next month, where I talk about automated testing, I say there, it's a spoiler for you, I say that I don't buy this classification of end-to-end testing, integration testing, unit testing, acceptance testing. All of these names, they're just too confusing for me. And I suggest do what Google is suggesting to do in the book, which is called How Google Develops Software, or something like that, which was published like 10 or more years ago. They classify tests on, if I'm not mistaken, on small, middle, and large, by the size, something like that. I don't remember exactly. I suggest to classify them as fast and deep. And I actually wrote a blog post about that a few, I think, months or maybe last year. There are tests which are fast, which just supposed to be like bullet fast. Each of them has to run in less than 10 milliseconds, very fast. And you create many of them. And you have to be able to run all of them, like all of them in your projects. And there could be thousands of them or thousands of them in just maybe half a second or maybe 1-2 seconds. Very fast. You just click the button, just boom, all of them just finished. And you know that your software is more or less okay. It sounds like it's not broken. That's the first step. And second group of tests, they are the deep tests. They are allowed to be very slow. They can run for a minute, for half an hour, maybe for an hour. Very, very deep tests. And maybe they need some additional resources to run. Maybe they need special servers, extra machines, extra network resources. They are extremely thorough. They're not supposed to be fast. They don't care about the speed, but they care about not mocking too much, not faking too much. Their objective is to make sure that they resemble the production environment as close as possible. There's two categories of tests. Then you ask me about test pyramids. I don't think there is a pyramid. I think there are just two layers. Well, basically, they're not layers. They just stay next to each other. The fast tests, they are for programmers. The deep tests, they are for the CI server. The CI machine or machines make a decision whether your product is good enough for production. They don't care whether it will take half a minute or half a second or maybe 2 hours. They care about what's going to be the experience for the customer after the product is delivered. You, when you develop the software, you care about the speed because you want to increment your changes very fast. You want to use tests in order to avoid debugging. That's the main purpose of testing. You change something, you run all of them in a few seconds, you see, okay, now I broke something. You change a little bit, again you run all of them, you see, okay, now it's not broken. Then you continue and continue like that. When you do some feature implementation, for example, in the pull request or branch, then you will run those tests many times, 10 times, 100 times. The full cycle, I'm not talking about one single test, but the full cycle will be run many times. And then you are finished, and then you wrap it all up. You may not even want to run the deep tests because they're too expensive for you. You don't want to waste the time of your laptop to do that. You just send the whole package, the whole pull request to the build machine, and just let the build machine do the hard work. And the machine will spend 2 hours and then push it back to you and say, you know what? One of the deep tests actually was broken because of your changes. Then you study the log, investigate what happened, then you get back to implementation. Again, you try to reproduce the failure which happened with the deep test. You try to reproduce this failure with a fast test. You see in the log of the deep test that something was broken there for a reason, but then you look at the fast tests and nothing is broken there. It means that your fast test's safety net is not strong enough. What do? You improve it. You introduce the new fast test. Then you see that it fails. Then you get back to fixing that. And again, you repeat that cycle. That's how I understand the acceptance testing or end-to-end testing, whatever. Next question. What are your music preferences? Do you listen it during the working hours? Actually, yes, I do listen to the music when I code. It kind of helps me. And I use the same music as the app, the music app. I use SoundCloud and the Yandex Music, what they recommend for working out, for the gym. So you put something which is energetic, techno usually, and it's like boom, 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 that kind of music. So there are no words, no lyrics there, just repetitive sound going on and on and on. Very energetic. The more energetic it is, the more I'm focused on the code, on what I code. But when I work out, when I work outside, when I work in a restaurant, a cafe place, or somewhere else on the airplane, then I don't use the music because I enjoy the sound around me. In the office, when you sit in the office, it's quiet. The office is quiet for some reason. I don't know why they make it this way, because if I would make an office, I would turn music there. I would make the office have music all the time, like they have in the gym. You work, and then the music helps you not be distracted not be distracted by what people talk about. When you sit in the open space, they talk about something there, they talk about something over there. You listen to that. You catch their words, and that distracts you because they talk about something which may concern you. That's why I put the headphones on. But in the public place, I don't care what they talk about. It's completely irrelevant to me. That's why I just work. That's what I do. Next one. Why do you think monopolies will bring us happiness? Imagine GitHub will become a monopoly and remove pull request feature one day. You will have to adapt new workflow irrelatively to your opinion. Well, that's a good question about this monopoly problem. Well, I in general believe that it's better when well, you can say that if Microsoft, for example, because I don't like Microsoft and I don't like its products, and it's kind of a monopoly in some sense, and you may say that if there would be no Apple, for example, or there would be no Linux or other systems, then we would be doomed, and we would have no choice, right? And that would be not a funny situation. But in general, I just think that we do need competition, definitely. In order to create something, we need people to compete. That's 100%. We want people to innovate. In order to innovate, you have to have a freedom for innovation, which means that you have to have an ability to challenge the status quo, technically or organizationally. That's true. In order to get better products, we want new products to be compared with old ones, and then the best one to be chosen, right? But I think that we can organize all of that. The competition, the challenges, the risk-taking, without the necessity to waste huge amount of resources on duplicating exactly the same products on a large scale. Like creating another GitHub in order to understand that the pull request feature is necessary, and then the discussion feature, which they have on GitHub, and I never used it, which I think is a total waste of time, and it shouldn't be implemented in the first place. But in order to understand that the discussion feature is not necessary on GitHub, we need to create another GitHub and then only realize that, okay, this feature is not necessary. I think we can organize all of that within one organization, provided this organization has the motivation to do that. That the organization is constantly being challenged by somebody who do not tolerate the organization to relax and be just happy with what they have. To be a financial monopoly, a capitalistic monopoly, when you just acquire the territory, like GitHub, for example. You have the market in front of you. You know that this market is not going to change. And then you just relax because you have all the money in front of you. You have all the capital. You have everything. You're not afraid of anybody because you're a capitalist. You don't need to work anymore for the next 5,000 years. That's how much money you have. If we have that, then of course the monopoly is not going to fight. It's not going to try anything new. The monopoly is not going to allow any challenges or encourage its people to challenge the status quo, encourage its people to try new features in GitHub. They will be just relaxing. There will be a lot of layers of higher management and the top management and top management. And then there will be capitalists on top like Microsoft who care nothing about innovation because we gave them the resources and we don't challenge them at all. But look at the different situation, like a monopoly in a socialism, for example, like in what we had in the Soviet Union, for example. It's a large government-owned organization, for example, the one which is building cars. We had a few of them in Soviet Union, like car makers. They just make cars and they have to make them new and new because the person who is in charge of this, the top manager, but first of all, there are no capitalists, so nobody owns this. Nobody relaxes. Nobody is happy because this factory exists. This guy doesn't exist. We don't have any family. We don't have any shareholders who own this. Let's get this out of the picture. We have just managers. The managers, the people who stay on top of this organization and they decide what cars to make. But these guys, they are not as much paid as top managers now in Apple and Microsoft and all these companies. You know how much money this Tim Cook and other people get like every year. Just for being there, just for sitting on top of Apple. This Tim Cook is getting, I don't know, $50 million a year or something. Doing zero, doing nothing. I mean, he's making one decision per year. That's maybe top. And he absolutely doesn't want to innovate anything because it's risky for him. His job is to make sure the bonus, the annual bonus is coming. That's all. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care about new features in the mobile phone. He doesn't care about this pull request feature, nothing. All he cares about is to keep the status quo. Just stay there in this management position. And because super well paid, and nobody challenges him, basically. Well, aside from these capitalists who understand that this is the monopoly and they want to preserve the current situation. They don't want competition. They don't want challenges. Well, they may want that, but this is not the primary interest for them. It's not like for the startup where all they want is innovation because they have nothing to protect. But in these large groups, they have everything to protect. But if we talk about the organization, the monopoly, where the management is not so much paid, not getting so much money, and there are no capital, no owners of this, then there is no point of not taking the risks. There is no point of not trying to compete within the organization, trying new features and all that. And on top of that, it's good to have some government regulative department, like not the police, but something like the guys who control how these managers behave. And they will look at what's happening in these monopolies and make sure that they're not just sitting there, these guys, but they actually do the competition, do the new features and all that. So I'm not against. So I am against duplicating resources. That's what I'm saying. Because if you look at the millions of people and then you just say, let's divide them 1 million here and then 1 million there, and then let them create GitHub A and GitHub B, and then see which GitHub is better. I think it's just waste of resources. We can give these people more projects to work on instead of keeping them busy with too large duplication of everything. I just feel that this is wrong. It shouldn't be done like that. We shouldn't just make, I don't know how many car makers we have now in the world. How many factories are built from scratch in order to make cars? We have these and that. I mean, maybe 50 or maybe a few hundred car makers. They all make different cars. What's the point? What's the point of making so many models and they all look almost the same? Maybe it's better to join all these efforts together and create maybe one or maybe a few factories and then focus our efforts on inventing something interesting, on inventing something which is more advanced than just regular Toyota, Honda, like all of these, BMW, Mercedes. They're all copying each other. They're all similar. They all look very, very close to each other. And people that in Mercedes, we have many, many layers of management. We have top management, then we have head of departments, then we have designers, then we have engineers. Many, many layers. They're all doing exactly the same as people inside BMW and the same people in Toyota. Does it make sense? Imagine in software world, we would have 50 companies, 50, making operating systems. Apple, Microsoft, and then 50 others. Well, we have something like that, you may say. We have Ubuntu, we have CentOS, and then we have tons of these clones of Linux. But do we really need that? Do we really need to? Is it the only possible way to encourage people to innovate? Is through their desire to get money on a personal basis. Because all of these companies, they originally were created because people wanted to get rich. People didn't want to work. People wanted to get rich. If you want to work, you just join BMW. You don't go build your own factory. You don't start your own company. You just go work for BMW and you spend your life working and making cars, if this is your passion. But no, this is not your passion. You want to get rich and you want to stop working. That's why you create a factory. That's why you design your own factory, because you want other people to work for you. That's your intention, right? Not to work, but instead to stop working. This is what I don't think is constructive for the society, to encourage people to do that. It's better to put them, all of these people who are full of energy, into one large organization and let them work. Let them spend their energy on creating the best car this planet has ever seen. And if we join those forces from Toyota, from BMW, from Ford, and from all other companies together, maybe they will create something way better than just Toyota and just Mercedes. Next question. How to lie at work? What should and shouldn't you lie about, and how to do it effectively? That's an interesting question. How to lie at work. Okay, let's try to make this question the last one, the philosophical, the one I promised to discuss at the end of the session, because it's very fundamental, not very practical, I believe, but let's talk about this lie in general when we finish. Next one, what do you think about the accumulation of wealth? You see, we just exactly discussed that. It seems you are against it. For example, you may like the idea of resetting the Stack Overflow reputation if the user has been inactive. Yeah, I'm in general against the accumulation of wealth. I understand that we do that because we are scared of the society. We afraid each other. We know that we don't know what's going to happen in 25 years. I don't know. I don't know where I will be getting food when I'm 80 years old. I have no idea. And the society doesn't provide me the guarantee. It doesn't tell me anything about that. Well, it does say something in Russia, in Ukraine, in some other countries. They say something about that. But I understand that in 30 and 40 years, it could be something completely different. It could be a different country. It could be different government. It could be different money. Maybe there will be no United States dollars at that time, and there will be no nothing, and only bitcoins, for example, or the gold. That's all. Basically, we live in the place where we're so much scared about each other. We're like animals who don't know what's going to happen. And that's why we accumulate wealth. That's why we try to do that. We basically work most of our time. We spend most of our life in order to accumulate wealth, in order to defend ourselves, to protect ourselves in the future against poverty, against loss of money, loss of resources, which is not very productive activity in general. I don't think it's something that people should do in their life. Just cowardly working to defend you, yourself, your family against other people. This is something that we did, like 100 years ago. We did it before, but I think that we should grow from that. We should become a better society where we work and we get the food for that because people around us appreciate what we do. And when we stop working because we cannot do anything else, they just continue giving us something which will keep us alive, which will keep our life reasonably good. And that's it. This is how it was. Again, sorry for getting back to this Soviet Russia past, but this is what they had there at that time. People who were honestly working for 40, 50 years, they knew that their elder days will be full of happiness. That's how it should be. And in general, we need to give resources back to people who give us something. As soon as you work, the longer you work, the more we appreciate that and return back the resources. You stop working, we stop giving you anything. And of course, it's not really fair that somebody work and accumulate. That was actually sort of illegal, not illegal, but severely punished in a moral way in Soviet Union. There were stories on the TV all the time and very often when they catch somebody and they were saying that this guy had money at his house. The guy was actually accumulating wealth in the house. Look, we found money there. And that was like a crime. They were not saying where did he get the money. Just having the money in house, so much money, that's a crime. That's how I was raised in this philosophy. Now it's different, right? When you have money, that's me. I have money because I'm rich. That's good. I mean, being rich is good. In Soviet Union, being rich means that you don't work anymore. Then why are you still alive? Why you're still here? Why do we need to respect you? If you don't work and just eat, because the money you have means that you can eat every day. You can eat, you can enjoy your life, giving nothing to us. Well, it's kind of fishy, kind of wrong. It looks wrong. That's how I feel it. And I think eventually, I hope that eventually the society will, get to the point where we will again get back to this formula of the more you work, the more you get. The less you work, the less you get. Next question. What do you think of doubling down on a text editor like VS Code, or trying to master VIM, NeoVim, or even Helix editor, which does change that much? I'm not really fan. Well, I'm in general in favor of simple text editors. I'm using the one which is also simple, not as probably simple as VIM or Vim or NeoVim. And I'm using Sublime Text, but still I believe that, I feel that it's better when your editor is simple. I only use IDE when I edit Java code, and only for one feature, because they have code completion. But if you can give me this code completion in NeoVim or in, the VS Code. Well, VS Code, I feel it like it's the same as, it's also IDE, right? I don't use any other features from the IDE. And I only use IDE in Java. That's the only language which I need code completion, because it's the language which has strong typing. That's why code completion works. For Ruby, for JavaScript, for Python, for Bash, I don't use IDE. For example, for Bash, what's the point of the IDE there? All I need is just syntax highlighting, and that's it. And the very fast text editing, so I can switch between windows and do it fast. So I'm in general in favor of simple editors. I'm sometimes even thinking about creating one, because the editors I have, the Sublime Text, for example, it's like too complicated still. I'm using maybe like 2% or 5% of the features it has. And I don't know why do I need all other features. All I need is just the window and the text and the highlighting, and that's it. And just basically scroll it down, take a copy from here, paste it there. That's it. It should be as fast as possible, as simple as possible, and as straightforward as possible. And I kind of feel like sorry for people who are so much hooked up to the IDE. They use all the different features, they use the menu buttons, they use the mouse to navigate the code. I don't do that. I don't use mouse to navigate code. But that's kind of... It's sort of distance us from the code. But maybe that's good. I'm just thinking now, because the AI companions and AI layer will make this distance even larger. We're going to stay far away from the code. The IDE now is even close to the code. In the future, maybe it's not going to be the IDE. It will be another type of editor where we're going to see just the window and then the color rectangles, which will say, look, there's a Java backend here, and there is a green rectangle, which is a JavaScript front end there. And then on the red rectangle, which is the backend, you see 75 different markers, and they're all different shape, and you move your mouse over there over one element, and you click the mouse, and it says, well, this one requires refactoring, which is going to cost you $2.50 if you click there, if you use OpenAI, and maybe $5 if you use another API. And then you just decide which one to use. You click it, it says, okay, wait for 7 minutes, boom, refactoring is done, and this marker is gone. And you look at it and you say, well, the color is now not red, but a little bit pinkish. Oh, that's cool. That means I did a good job today. And then you close your computer and go home. And then next morning you open it up and you see, okay, now the green rectangle is not green enough. It's a little bit blue in some area. You move the mouse to the blue area and it explains to you that here we use the design patterns which is discouraged to use. There are 2 singletons in there. We're not going to tell you which one because you're not smart enough to understand what we're talking about. But the singletons are right there. So what do you do about that? You have 2 options. The machine will tell you. And you click, well, I rather stay with the singleton because it's more performance optimal, and I rather remove the second singleton because I feel this way. And then you click the button and it works for 15 minutes, and then it says, boom, we did it. Now it's better. Now you see the green rectangle, which is more green than it was before. Oh, that's good. That's the programmer. You are the programmer. You will still need to understand what is singleton. You will still need to understand what is the back end, what is the front end, what's the difference. You still will understand what is the HTTP protocol, for example. Still need to understand how the database is organized. But you're not going to touch that. You're not going to go deeper and see exactly how the singleton looks. It's not going to be important for you. Just the singleton. It's right there, somewhere there, in some files. That's how it's going to be. Unfortunately, it's coming. It's going to happen soon, maybe even next year. I think a few days ago, the CTO, CEO of Claude, of Anthropic, what's the name of this company, who's making this Claude AI, he said that this year, we're going to get rid of 90% of programmers. This year, 90% of programmers are not going to be on the market anymore. And next year, he said, it's going to be 100%. Next year, everybody will be just removed from the market because the machines will do everything. It's not going to happen, I'm sure, because I see how this AI works. It's not making even close to what the promise is promising. But it is very good for solving the problems just like I described you. You just ask this Claude code to touch my code base and do something good about it. And it goes through the code base and it helps you here and there. Of course, if you give more complicated task, it cannot help. You cannot just say hey, I have a bug there, try to fix it. In most cases, in 9 cases out of 10, it's not going to fix you anything. But it's very good in finding bugs and then fixing them. This is the perfect scenario. Just tell it, go through the code base, find any bugs you can find and fix them right there. This is the request I'm giving to Claude Code very often. And it comes back with ideas and fixes and typos and inconsistencies, all the different things. Let me check VK, because people ask their questions as well. Well, it's a comment for the previous talk we had about these cars, and the suggestion is how about letting these cars or different tools to exist for different purposes. This tool for that one, this car for that one. It's also true, it's all true. But what's the point of having 2 capitalists owning these 2 different factories? One factory is making Toyota, another factory is making Mercedes, but they're making exactly the same SUV for exactly the same purpose. 4 seats, the same engine size, the same speed, the same color, the same the same parameters. Everything is the same. But the brand name is different, Toyota and Mercedes. This is the question. Of course, I agree that some cars must be small, some cars must be large, but it can be done by one factory. Or we may have one factory for small cars, another factory for large cars, and that's it. Enough for this planet. It's like the same question for the countries. Why do we need so many countries in the first place? Why do we need 27 countries in Europe, 27 presidents, 27 armies, 27 police officers, heads of police offices, 27 central banks? What's the point of that? Why do we so much resources are being wasted? Why it can be just one bank, one government, one police office, one court, just one. No, they made 27 on such a small territory. This is a huge, enormous useless duplication of resources. The same happens in business, massively. Next question. How would you handle a project with terrible code quality while meeting business expectations? How would you improve the situation? It happens a lot. We actually had a lecture yesterday about technical debt. And I was telling students that technical debt is something that happens exactly when the business expectations are far ahead of your technical capabilities. Your architecture, your code base can do something, can be capable of doing something. For example, it has a front end and it has a back end, and it has a database. This is your 3-layer architecture, for example. And then the business comes to you and says, we want to have, direct access to the database from the front end for some reason. Then you have to do it fast because everything is right there. The database is there, the front end is there. But you were not expecting that in your original architecture. You were expecting the front end to talk to the back end and the back end then go to the database. But they want it directly for some reason. You have to adopt that. You have to listen to that requirements and break your architecture. You have to sacrifice your architectural beliefs and good principles for the sake of money, for the sake of business requirements. And that's how you generate technical debt. You do that, but you have to record it that I did that on purpose because I was not strong enough to refuse the request from the business, and I didn't have enough time to do it properly, or didn't have enough competence, or didn't have enough resources. That's how the technical debt grows, and eventually you get a code base which is full of technical debt. You made a shortcut there, you made a shortcut over there, and then eventually you look at the code base and you understand that there is no possibility to move forward. You need to shut it down, you need to destroy everything and start from scratch. This is what usually happens to our projects. So to answer your question, how do you deal with terrible code quality? We move forward. We continue to live with this code base, but we try to record technical debt. We try to put the markers in the code or notes in the code or to-dos in the code, which tell us about the technical debt which we accepted. There's also a term for that. It's called self-admitted technical debt, SATD. We have to self-admit the technical debt which we inject into the code base. This is how we deal with that. Later, you will be able to go back to the code base and look at this technical debt recorded and then ask the management, the boss, for the money in order to fix that, in order to do refactoring. Because refactoring is how you reduce the amount of technical debt. That's the objective of refactoring. When you do refactoring, you don't introduce new features, you don't fix bugs, you only reduce the amount of technical debt. This is what Martin Fowler said in his book Refactoring. And I repeat that. Next question. Do you still think class names must not end with ER? Yeah, definitely, I think so. I don't have classes that end like this, and I'm pretty strong on that. That's true. Next one. Do you think about a mobile development? What do you think about mobile development? I want to be an iOS engineer and build my career in this way. Well, I think it's good. It doesn't matter which direction you go, in my opinion. You can be mobile development, you can be embedded software developer, you can be AI developer, you can be a manager. It doesn't matter who you are. The matter is how good you are. That's what matters. Become mobile developer, but become the best mobile developer in the country. That has to be your objective, not just mobile developer. In being just mobile developer, you will suffer from low salary, from constant stress at work, from dissatisfaction, depression, burnout, all of that. You have to aim higher, aim to become the best mobile developer. How to become that? That's a different question. You have to reformulate your question. You have to ask, what do you think if I become the best mobile developer? How to achieve that? That could be a question. Or whether it's a possible goal to achieve. Then we can discuss. But in general, mobile development, good strategy. Next one. What is the optimal number of hours per week to work for a software engineer? Well, it's an interesting question, but difficult to answer because you have to define work. Because I sit in front of the computer, 14 hours a day, and only one day without the computer, which is Saturday. So calculate, I have 6 days of work and 6 days in front of the computer, and every day, well, maybe not 14 hours every day, but 12 for sure. That's definitely. So you can see how much I spend, like 72 hours every week. But that's not work. I don't define this as work because I don't work for anyone. I just have fun. I love it. I do it because that's what I love to do. If you ask me to work for somebody and do the mobile application for pizza delivery because I will have to make some capitalist happy because of that, and he will pay me some money so I can buy food, then it's going to be a different story. I'm not going to work 72 hours a week. Definitely not. Maybe I will work maybe 1 hour per day, maybe something like that, 1 hour per day, maybe 2 hours. That will be even difficult for me. 1-2 hours. That's it. And then I will have weekends and I will hate myself and my work and my project and my colleagues and my boss and my salary. Everything. That's a big difference between work and fun. So you can ask me how much, you can reformulate the question and ask it, what's the optimal number of hours per week to have fun? Answering me this question. How many hours we're supposed to have fun? I would say all of them, as much as you have, right? Just eat, sleep, go to the gym, and then have fun. All the time you have, you spend on that. The same should be with you. You have to find that kind of work, that kind of activity where you do that and you get money. And if you don't get fun from your daily programming activities, then something is wrong with them, with these programming activities. Try to restructure them. Try to do more open source. I said it many times. Open source can give you fun. Working for some guy to make him rich, it's difficult to have fun from that. Difficult. Well, you have to be very much, not respecting yourself and be prepared for being nobody in your life, something like that. So you should be very, in my opinion, not very self-respected situation. If you really believe that working for somebody because he pays you is a comfortable position, definitely not. It's even worse than slavery. If you go to the office because they pay you, you're a slave. If you go to the office because you love it, and by the way they pay you, that's perfect. That's good life. But if you go because you have to, because they pay you, and you code that stuff because they ask you, and you follow their orders because they tell you what to do, because if you don't follow the orders, they will stop paying you, or they will start yelling at you and somehow humiliating you, then you're a slave, my friend. Don't be one. It's not good. I didn't want to offend you. I just don't know who you are, but I address it to everybody. Next question. I work on React project. Now I need to write a new component. The project is written in object-oriented programming style. Should I write a new component in the functional style? You can try, but it depends on how the team will react. If there is no team and it's just you, then maybe a functional style may be interesting to try. There could be, in any programming style, object-oriented, procedural, or purely functional, there could be elements of functional style. If you write in functional, then everything is functional. But if you write object-oriented, there could be elements, there could be places where you inject functional programming. that's only good to have. Because object-oriented languages, the way we have them now, like JavaScript, for example, because you use React, they are not really elegant. They're not really good to use. They're not really well structured and well prepared for clean code. That's why I try to use functional programming, because in general, functional programming is better than object-oriented programming. Than object-oriented programming, which we know. The object-oriented programming which we use. Not the one we want to use, but the one we have in our programming languages and frameworks and libraries and examples on GitHub and in ChatGPT. Next question. Okay, I think I lost this one. What's the point of marriage? Someone is asking. What's the point of marriage? Well, it's a question which is difficult to answer now. We had this point 100 years ago. We knew what the marriage was for. And even maybe 30 years ago, we knew that, but less. In general, the point of marriage is to... But the question is for who? Let's start from there. For the people who get married, or for the people who organize the society into families and encourage people to get married? There are two different perspectives. If you talk about people who get married, then obviously the main goal, the main point is to have stronger relationship with someone in order to get more from that person. And of course to give more from that person. If you love somebody, it's not yet a marriage. It's just your feelings, your emotions. You love somebody, and you don't need to live with that person in the same apartment. For example, you may love, somebody who's even far away from you. But when you get married, it means that you need to get something from that person, either physical or emotional or financial, something which you take from him or from her. And then she does the same to you. That's the point of marriage. Just get the protection, get the guaranteed provision of resources, guaranteed provision of intimacy, for example, or provision of communications. Like you talk to that person, but when you talk online or you talk over the phone, it's not a constant talk which you would love to have. So you say, how about we get married? In this case, we can talk every day because you are such a good partner for my conversations. I enjoy talking to you. How about we get married, live together? Then we have all the chances, all the time to talk every day. Great, let's do that. You enjoy the conversations. She enjoys, for example, you paying for her gym classes, something like that. So it's an exchange of resources which becomes more active, more. And I think I'm giving you the quite obvious stuff. And why it's necessary for the government, for the society to let people do that and encourage them to do that, I think it's basically because these bonds which they create when they get married, they help the society to be more stable, because we get people who are more. They become more careful with their lives, with their activities, with everything, and this is what is necessary in order to help the society to grow. They will start making kids. They will start caring about those kids. They start caring about themselves. They're not anymore fighters, as we all are when we're young, especially men. We like to fight. We like to risk our lives. We enjoy that. That's how we're built, men. But if they put us in families, then we understand responsibilities. We understand that maybe it's not a good idea to fight every day because there's somebody sitting home and waiting for me. So instead of just, getting drunk every night and beating somebody in the bar, maybe I'm going to go home and watch the TV because it's a bit safer for that person who is waiting for me at home. And that reduces the amount of violence in the society, increases the amount of children, reduces the amount of crime, increases the amount of taxes. Actually, tax means that work. So the people start working more. So it's good. It's good for both sides. I think, to be married. Of course, it's not an easy decision to make because you need to be careful about who you marry. But in general, I would recommend to do that instead of not doing that at any age. Okay, let me answer the last question, which I promised, about the lie in the office, which, let's say, a little bit philosophical. And let me read it again. How to lie at work. What should and shouldn't we lie about? And how to do it effectively? Interesting question, a tricky one. I think in general, if you don't lie, then it just means that you're stupid. It's like a kid. If you have a little kid and the kid never lies, then what can you say about this kid? Maybe he's not very smart, or she. Because when we lie, as far as I understand, we are trying to, first of all, we need to build a different reality. We need to imagine a different reality. When a parent is asking the kid, where have you been? But the kid was, I don't know what he was doing, just breaking the window of another house and just, throwing a dead cat into this window, for example, then the kid has to invent a different story in order to lie. He has to say that, well, I was walking on the street with my friends and we were talking about the movies and cartoons. Oh, that's good. You can go. In order to do that, the kid has to have an imagination. The same when we grow up, I think. We also lie if we can. If you cannot do that, you just straight, direct, honest all the time. It's not going to help you much in your life. Because you will always be obvious. You will always be predictable. You will always be vulnerable, I think. It will be very easy to hurt you because you always say what you think. You always disclose yourself, disclose your intentions. That's not good. So that's first thing. Don't be afraid of lie as something negative, as something morally unacceptable. Betraying people is morally not acceptable. Stealing from them, it's not good. Taking advantage of people, it's not good. But lying, technically, it's an instrument of achieving your goals. Let's say you want to help somebody, and in order to help somebody, you just lie to that person. Like a doctor, for example. The doctor has to make a surgery to you, and that surgery is supposed to be dangerous, and you will hurt, and you will have pain. But in order to convince you to do this surgery, which is necessary, the doctor lies to you. And then you listen to the lie, and you get comfortable, and you say, okay, I'm ready for that, let's do it. And then boom, you get what you get. But that was the skill of a doctor, which he used for your purpose, for your good, to help you. The same in the office. If you need to lie in order to help the project, then go do it. Lie. If, for example, your manager is an idiot, which is very typical situation. The manager doesn't know what he's doing, what he's talking about. But the manager has the access to resources. The manager has the budget. And the budget can be given to people to you, for example, or to your competitor who is doing something else. You go to the manager and you believe honestly that your project deserves the budget. Your project is valuable for the company, is valuable for other people, is valuable for humanity, for all of us, for open source community. Then you go to the manager, and the manager says, will this project be profitable next year? Will it generate profit? You know for a fact, but there will be no profit next year. This project is not for profit. It's not going to generate any money. It's not going to have any customers, but it's going to give the value the year after. But your manager is an idiot. He's not going to listen to that. He's not going to understand the reason that it's not for next year. It's the years after. What do you say? You say, of course, it's going to generate the profit next year. Absolutely. I'm confident. Absolutely. You can trust me. But you understand that next year, this manager will not be here. He will be fired most probably. So it's okay to lie to him because you have the proper reason for that. You honestly believe that you are doing the right thing. This is when you can lie. When you do it from your heart, then it's perfectly all right. And it happens. It happens a lot. It happens a lot in the office. It's just one example I gave you. Just one example. When you just tell the manager something, promise the manager something, which is not true, and you know it's not true. But he is not competent enough to understand that it's not true. Or maybe he's also ready to listen to the lie. He's ready to accept that because that's all he gets. Because he doesn't know how to get the truth from you. Or maybe he's afraid of you to actually, force you to tell the truth. My answer is lie about whatever you want as long as it helps in the end people. As long as what you do has a good intention. I hope I made my point clear. That's it for today. Thank you for coming, everybody. Sorry for my English. I tried to be as convincing as possible. See you next week. Same time. I will be in China next week. So our session will be from a very far distance.